I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. I don't deserve money is one of the 10 most common money scripts. Holding this belief has very little to do with whether society, friends, or family view you as deserving. I think that few people would argue that we all deserve the support that money can give us to have nutritious food, safe and adequate shelter, and access to safe and reliable transportation. Saying, I don't deserve money, is akin to saying, I don't deserve to live. Yet millions of people have this money script. They tend to have low self-esteem, to earn less, and to make ill-advised financial decisions. Believing that you don't deserve money can hinder both your emotional and, of course, financial well-being. As pointed out in my co-authored book, Wired for Wealth, it keeps people emotionally and spiritually poor, despite any wealth they may have. Now, at its core, this belief is rooted deeply in shame. Guilt and shame are often conflated, but they are different. Think of this, that guilt comes from the awareness of having done something wrong. For example, you might feel guilty over making an ill-advised financial decision or a mistake. We all make wrong decisions. While they can evoke guilt and regret, that doesn't mean we're fatally flawed or our very being is defective. It means we've made a mistake. We accept the consequences, adjust our behavior, learn to do better, and go on. But shame is not about what we may have done, but who we believe we are. The type of shame that says, I don't deserve money, has underlying thoughts and feelings of being inadequate, stupid, dirty, or unworthy. You don't have to have done anything wrong to feel shame. Now, guilt can be lessened by acknowledging and feeling our regret and our remorse over a decision, and then modifying our behavior going forward. But shame requires much more. Changing shame is not about modifying a behavior. It takes modifying our self-image, which is far more difficult and challenging. Learning and practicing better financial behavior will not result in learning to believe that we deserve money. So like money scripts, or like a lot of our money scripts, modifying one of shame is really an inside job. So how do you do that? Well, start with becoming aware of what triggers your shame around not deserving money. It can be harder to recognize than guilt, which often comes from a specific action, while shame can be systemic and really vague. When you can identify a triggering event, you can begin then to get curious about where that feeling of unworthiness first started. It may stem from childhood experiences that are not even specifically about the money. Imagine that. Feeling the feelings is key to building self-esteem. There's a lot of sources out there that will tell you not to ruminate on these thoughts and feelings, which typically means getting caught up in the thoughts and avoiding feeling the feelings. Now, this seems really nuanced. It almost could seem like doublespeak, but it's extremely important to understand. Talking about feelings is not feeling them. Now, almost any method of reducing shame will involve practicing self-compassion. I think it's pretty important. And doing this is far more difficult than it sounds, right? I only started to understand self-compassion when I began to see that the goal was not to get rid of my shaming and critical part of myself, but to understand its initial good intention of keeping me safe from outside attacks that first triggered the shame in the first place. So over time, the outside attacks that triggered that shame, they disappear, leaving the critical part fighting an imaginary enemy like Don Quixote and doing a lot of internal harm in the process. Now, one final item to consider is getting support. The entire counseling profession is trained in helping people recover from systemic shame. With intention and some new tools, almost anyone can modify a money script of "I don't deserve money." And it's both possible and important to come to understand that you do deserve the increased financial, physical, and emotional well-being that money can help provide. Thanks for joining me.